sunrise, cooking out among the stars, all the wonderful coyotes and mesas and plains all around you, and then only to find out that you woke up and had been robbed by bandits. That's right, today we're talking about a fantastic game. No, it has nothing to do with grilled chicken and onions. It has to do with the West, the Wild West, that time, that magical time in our history that is probably a lot of legend, but that's what we're talking about today. Legends in the West. Some might even call it Western legends. Let's take a look right now at Western legends. Question of the day. What do you think is an unused or underused theme in gaming? Now, we talked about this when it came to Kitchen Rush, but I personally think that the American West is totally underused. It's a beautiful thing, the American West, the mythological American West, all the fun, fanciful, legendary stories of all these characters. I mean, who doesn't like watching Tombstone, for goodness sake? And watching that movie and just feeling that as you play this game. So what do you think? Let me know in the comments what's an underused theme that you would like to see more games used of, and games like this too, not necessarily just a card game, but a game like this where you kind of feel that open world sandbox type of feel to it. So just let me know in the comments below what you would like to see theme wise. But let's take a look right now what comes in Western Legends, how to play it right now. So let's talk what comes in the box. First and foremost, obviously, would be this wonderful general store here. Now, I love this thing. First of all, these wouldn't necessarily go in it. There are some empty slots, just so you know, though, from this base set. So there are some more items that came in Kickstarter expansions, as well as some expansions potentially coming out. But you have things like a mule. That's right. And on the front, gives you the cost of how much this item is, how many movement points, if it's a movement point type of thing, and then what it does. So the mule down here lets you carry 2 additional gold. On the back, they all have individual names, which is pretty great, like Rusty, Moses, Lady, Clyde, and Hambone. Who doesn't want a mule named Hambone, to be quite honest with you? Also, when you upgrade them, they're worth double the points on the back. They're just great, right? And so the mule, the Mustang, the revolver, the rifle, the shotgun, the whiskey, the 10-gallon hat, the provisions, and the miner's map all fit nicely into this little general store here, so you can constantly get access to them. You can buy those anytime you're at the general store. You also get these card size money, and I love this size of money. Like, this is my favorite type of paper money in a game, is actual coin Kiniscus size cards for money. So you have 10s and 20s, and this is all you really need because you can have a max of $120 in the game, so it kind of makes sense. These cards are the fight deck, so anytime you're fighting NPCs such as a guard or a bandit or the man in black, you will use these fight cards here as opposed to the poker cards. You get a deck, 2 dice that you'll use to roll for when you're mining for gold. You also get these gold nuggets. We looked it up there. For $5 you can get little tiny pieces of pyrite that look like gold that we're probably going to switch to. Wound markers. These are the legendary points variant for individual gold cards. So everybody will get 3 individual golds, and you'll get a chance to draw these for points. They're worth 2, 1, and I believe up to 3 different points on there. You have these smaller cards here. These are the individual gold cards. So it's things like this for Wyatt Earp, for Kurt Russell. You have discard 1 provisions at a Dark Rock Saloon space to complete this goal. So you have these goals that you're going to try to complete to get those extra Legends points. You also have over here cattle tokens. So the cattle, 2 different farms, and we'll show you when we get to the map. Blue and green on the back give you different rewards, things like money and victory points, or marshal points, or extra marshal points. Everybody gets their tokens in their color. I love the color choice in this game, so there's no green, so Carl was pretty upset like that because green wins games, as we know. These are the story cards, which add a little bit of flavor to the game, as if it needed it, right? It's already got tons and tons of flavor. But these are story cards, so when these trigger, so it says gain any number of marshal points or warning points, and we'll explain what that is in a minute. Somebody will put a token on there, and when it's filled in a 2 to 4 player game, it just takes 2, 3 to 5, or 5 and 6 player game, it takes 3. You flip it over and resolve it. So this gives you some nice, wonderful flavor text up here. Let's see, I've already read that. Let's find one I haven't read yet. Abandoned wagon. The prairie schooner sat there like a mirage in the rust-colored dust. The torn canvas flapped in the hot wind, proof that misfortune had fallen upon the travelers. The schooner was nearly bare, save for a few lucky scraps. Players that contributed to this gain 1 provision and a cattle token from a ranch of their choice. That's pretty sweet. You also spawn bandits on the map. We'll talk about that. And then someone who triggered it, whoever the last person was who triggered it, gets to move the sheriff. Something I'm really excited about is the poker deck. This is one of the greatest parts of the game, is an actual poker deck for something different. It's actually poker, right? It is real poker cards, But it's also your action cards and different things like that. Actions, reactions, bonus cards. You get these poker cards in your hand and you can do things with them other than just play poker. Now you can play poker, which is a really exciting part of this game, is you can play an actual game of poker against other players or against the computers, we call it, but against the game itself. It gives you a chance to win $50 plus anybody else's antes. If you're the only one with antes, it basically means you're walking away with $50. But it's a quick way to get $50 in cash, and it's really fun to play poker middle of the game. Now the obvious problem is a lot of these cards do some really great things, and so your king, let's just say you have a king, for instance. Well, this one's good. It gives you a marshal point or a wanted point. But a king, I know they do determination. Action, gain 2 actions. You would spend this as your action and gain 2 more actions. So you have to decide whether you want to use this for poker, for fighting, because these are also your fighting cards. You'll use them as high card then, or if you want to save them to use them for their reactions, their actions, and their bonuses. So really cool that it's an actual poker deck. I really love that. That's fantastic. Last but not least is the actual player cards over here, who you can play as. A lot of historical figures. The Man in Black variant, if you're playing a 2-player game, you have this kind of automa guy who runs around the board and causes issues. YB Rowdy, Wyatt Earp, Calamity Jane, Annie Oakley, Jesse James, Billy the Kid, Doc Holliday, I'm your Huckleberry, Bass Reeves, Stagecoach Mary Fields, Bloody Knife, Wild Bill Hickok, and Kit Carson. There are a bunch of other characters that I saw in the Kickstarters, so I hope they make it to retail as well, like people like Bat Masterson, all these characters that you saw on TV and stuff. Like my father-in-law, when he was living, he used to love watching westerns, and I'd go in his house and it would constantly be blaring like Bat Masterson. So it's just kind of cool seeing these characters come to life in this board game. And then of course, last but not least, I said that already, but last but not least for sure, is the plastic. This is a work of beauty. Look at these beautiful plastic figures. I played as Wyatt Earp last time. Each one is really meticulously sculpted, and the cool thing is, depending on which color you play, you just take the base, put it on that figure. So I definitely plan on painting this game because, oh my gosh, these look great. Let's just show you a couple more of these. Here's one of the bandits. You know he's a bandit because he has a bandana on his face. A lot of really great sculpts in this game. Fantastic looking stuff. So I'll show you a couple more of these. I think this is Doc Holliday. I believe it's Doc Holliday. So, you know, really just good looking plastic in this game. So excellent to see all the different choices, all the different plastic. Calamity Jane is also in there, Annie Oakley. So it's cool to see the male and female figures that were famous during this time, and Legends of the West. Now let's take a look at the board, what you do in your turn, and how this game plays. So we'll set up for a 3-person game here. We've got YB Rowdy, Wyatt Earp, and Annie Oakley going at it. Here we go. So YB Rowdy starts at the Cliff Junction Mine, which would be right over here. Annie Oakley starts, or Wyatt Earp starts at the any available bandit hideout. So we'll start him in Dixie Creek right there between. And then Annie Oakley starts at the Dark Rock General Store, so right over here. The sheriff, you'll pick any one figure you want to put in the yellow, and you'll put that sheriff right out here. Could be any miniature, doesn't matter. Sheriff goes right out there. You will get your starting goods, so it'd be things like 3 poker cards, 1 poker card and a rifle, $10, 2 cards, a revolver, and a marshal point, which is pretty nice. You already start with a marshal point. And then the goal is to get victory points. First person to win, first person to get the most victory points obviously wins, but the game ends at either 15, 20, or 25 points, depending on how long you want to play. 20 feels like a good sweet spot. 25 feels like you can get just enough done, everything done you want to get. So on your turn, you can do one of 3 actions. Now, there's a couple important concepts to note before we start. That'll be the marshal track or the wanted track. You can only be one or the other. You can't be marshal and wanted. So if you want to be a good guy, you kind of move up the marshal track. If you want to be an outlaw, you move up the wanted track. So just know that when you're a marshal, you can do something that will get you wanted points. It will lose your marshal track and put you on the wanted track. You cannot, however, just instantly go from the wanted track to the marshal track. You have to get arrested, go to jail, lose your wanted, basically do your time, and then you can turn your life around and become a marshal. There are 3 actions there are more than 3 actions you can do, but you get 3 actions. Now, at the beginning of your turn, you'll either take $10 and a poker card, or 2 poker cards, or $20. So any combination of 2 of those things over there. You then will choose your mount and weapon for the turn. So if you have a horse and a mule, you have to pick one or the other. Then you get to do these actions. So move would be the first action. Everyone has a base movement of 2. So for Wyatt Earp, that'd be 1, 2. He can make it to the cabaret here. If you have a Mustang, for instance, your movement is 4. if your Mustang is upgraded by paying that again, Poncho there, good name, you can move 5. So then you can move, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So look at the difference there. Yeah, you can move a lot of distance, so that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces as opposed to 1, 2. So just seeing it on the board, that makes a big difference when you have a horse who can move you. Now the upgraded mule, I should say, gets you 4 movement, plus gets the benefit of getting more points when you sell gold, as well as gets a little bit further of a movement too. So just know that that's a thing there. They also upgraded items count for victory points at the end of the game. You can move. That's one of the things you can. Now you can do these 3 actions. Any of them, you can do them. You can do them the same action 3 times. You can do different actions. Doesn't matter. The next thing you could do would be take a local action. That would be any of these symbols here on the board for different actions you could take. You can then fight someone, which would be arrest, duel, or rob another player in your space. Now there might be bandits out as well, which will spawn because of these story cards. And if you're playing the 2-player variant, the man in black will be out here as well, whom you can rob. But when he comes out, he sometimes also spawns more bandits. So these bandits are people that will allow you to arrest them, or fight them, I should say. When you fight a bandit, and you win, you gain a marshal point, which, as you notice on the track, you get individual rewards for each one you hit, but at the end of the game, you also get points for where you are on the row, but you get, 2, 4, 6, so that's 10, 12 points if you get all the way up to level 9 of the marshal track, versus on the wanted track, there's fewer rewards, but at the end of every turn, you get that reward of a victory point, or 2 victory points, or 3 victory points. So if you can stay wanted without getting arrested, it's a pretty good benefit. You then so after the fight, we'll talk about what the fights look like in a minute. You can do an action off of your cards. That would be something that's one of these actions that are on the card, like move the sheriff up to 3 spaces. If you're a marshal or wanted player, gain 1 victory point. So pretty neat. Now you can be neither. You can be neither marshal or wanted. If you're nowhere on the track at that moment, you wouldn't get the victory point from that. So let's talk the local actions and see what they are real quick. So we have the farms up here, or the ranches. There are 2 actions you can do once you have a cow, but the action you can do at the ranch, blue ranch or red ranch, would be to acquire a cow. You take a cow, put it on your player card. You can only have 1 cattle at a time. You then can either take it down here to the railroad to wrangle it, so you're wrangling it down there and selling it off to somewhere, or you can rustle the cattle, which basically means you take a green one over here to the blue space, spend an action to rustle it, and then you will then discard that token. You'll flip it over and get the back of it, and you'll gain a wanted point because you basically just stolen the cattle and sold it to someone else under the guise of false pretenses, i.e. rustling cattle. If you sell it down here, same thing, you get the back, you flip the card over, you get the back of whatever the victory point is, or the bonus point. It says gain a gold nugget on this one, but they're all different. And then you put that cattle back over there and you gain a marshal point. So one of them gives you marshal points, one of them gives you wanted points. At the saloon, let's say the saloon right here and here, you can play a game of poker. And the way that works is you'll make the best 5-card hand out of a 3-card flop using 2 of your cards. So the difference between this and real poker, or a longer game of poker, is you have to use these 3 cards in the flop down here. And you make the best 2-card hand you can out of yours to add to that. So our hand right now currently would be a king, actually it'd be a pair of 6s with a king high as the whole card there. So just know that that's how you play the poker game. It's a much more succinct version of poker, but it still gives you all the flair and reality of playing poker. The next thing you could do would be go into the cabaret. Every $30 you spend gives you a victory point, so it's kind of nice. You're hooping and hollering, rowdying things up over at the cabaret. At the general store, you can buy your goods. That's where you go and buy all the different things in the game. You can go to the hospital up here, or the doctor's office, I should say, not really a hospital, and pay $10 to heal all your wounds. It's pretty nice, but you also draw a poker card for each wound lost this way, so it's a good way to get cards as well. You can go to the general store, again, where you buy all the goods. You can go to the bank. Now, this is where you deposit your gold nuggets, or you can rob the bank. If you rob the bank, you fight the guard, which means they draw 3 of those fight cards up there and play high card against you. And then if you win, you get $80 and 3 wanted points. If you lose, you still get 1 wanted point, but you get no money. You then can also mine. So in the mining, you take these 2 dice, you roll. This symbol means you take a gold nugget. This one means you get $10 and you keep rolling. There we go. So we end up with 2 gold nuggets for that action. It could be gravel, which is nothing, and it could just be $10 flat. So just know it's a good way to get money and gold. Well, it's the only way to get gold, but it's a good way to get money really quickly is by doing that. Then you could take your gold and then sell it off at the bank for $20 per nugget and a victory point per nugget. So if you've got your mule and you're carrying 6 gold, it's a good way to get 6 points and $120, boom, in one turn when you sell it. That's all the actions on the board. The only other thing you can do is be when you fight. Sorry, one more thing is you can work. So if you're at any of these spaces, you can just skip an action for $10. Basically, it's just a pass to get $10. Fighting. So the way this works is you declare what you're going to do. If you're going to arrest, duel, or rob somebody else. Now, the actual fight's the same way. You play high card against that person. Or if you're playing an NPC, it'd be the fight deck over there. Whoever wins based on, reactions and modifiers and all such as that, then the reward or resolution happens. So if you arrest somebody, you gain a marshal point, and that player is placed in the sheriff's office with the sheriff. And the wanted player also loses all wanted points and all of their cattle and half their money and gold rounded up. If you're just dueling, it's a quick way to get 2 victory points. And if you're robbing someone, you steal half of their money or gold rounded up, and then you steal a cattle token if able. So if you lose, you gain a wound and draw a poker card no matter what. And that's it. That's all you can do in the game. But when I say that's all, that's a ton of different ways you can get victory points. So all sorts of different ways to win the game, whether you just going around and arresting bandits and fighting bandits, or arresting other players who are wanted, or whether you're wanted and you're going around robbing banks and hooping it up in the cabaret and fighting, robbing other people. So just tons and tons and tons of ways to get victory points and win this game. So when the people say it's a sandbox, they really mean that there are so many different ways to play and win this game. So let's take a look right now. Final thoughts, what we think, and if you should get Western Legends right now. So let's pony up to the bar here and talk about exactly why you should be playing Western Legends. No, I'm not going to gild the lily or play around about it. You need to get this game. It is fantastic. It's one of my favorite games, probably of all time now. It's that good. The fact that there's so many ways to play, so many ways you can win, so many strategies that work. Now, some of them admittedly are better than others. The gold strategy seems pretty doggone good. So when you see someone running away for gold, you cannot afford not to rob that person. You say, but I don't want to lose my marshal points. Well, you better figure something out, because it's a good strategy to win. Let's talk top to bottom art. The game is fantastic looking. It's very pretty. The board is great. I just love the way everything looks on the board. The components are nice. That general sword is really, really nice. The cards are great. All the character art. The fact that they made a deck of cards as an actual poker deck of cards looks fantastic. And it looks like something from the era, which is great. All the art from the characters is really nice. Billy the Kid looks like Billy the Kid. White Earp looks like Kurt Russell, and that's good. That's what you want. You don't want to see it. Now, Doc Holliday admittedly doesn't look like Val Kilmer, big Val Kilmer, or little Val Kilmer, but that's okay. Val Kilmer wasn't actually Doc Holliday. It's a weird thing to me to understand, but anyway, that's totally besides the point. The game is fantastic. There are so many different things about this that I love. Mechanic-wise, it's fantastic. The idea of you choose 3 actions, you do those 3 actions, none of them feel like you're pigeonholed in. If you had to complain about that, the one thing would be that sometimes you need to get across the board multiple turns. Well, it's not a fast game in that sense where you're going to run out of actions immediately. It's not like Caverna where someone takes your space. Well, it's not like that at all. You can do what you need to do, and it until the fight breaks out, it's pretty solitary, which I like. I like the fact that everybody gets to do their own thing until people decide to start shooting each other, and that's pretty great. Just everything about it works. Like, I can't put my finger on it. I think the sandbox aspect works, because you hear that a lot and you go, well, yeah, but is it really? And it really is. Like, you can do so many different things. It looks good when you're doing it. It feels good. The plastic looks good. The mechanics work for fighting as well as for poker, as well as for extra actions. That deck is so well used in multiple different ways, and it's done just really cleanly to where it doesn't feel like, wait, what do I do now? Really nice how that works, from playing poker to playing doing the high card thing for a fight, or just using the action. So I can't say enough good things about this game. Like, it's really that good, and I want to see more from it. This is a game where you want expansions just because you want more, because the game it's just a fun universe to play and a fun universe to dive into. For those solo gamers out there, it's not possible to do it solo, is the only downside yet, until somebody comes with a cool mod. But just know that it's a really fun experience. Now, I will say this, though, the player count needs to be higher, if you ask me. Like, I really like playing with a higher player count than I do with a lower player count. Even though the bandits are out there, you feel like there's more to interact with when it comes to robbing others or dueling others, or all that kind of stuff. So just know that that's a thing that you really are best served by playing it with 4 and up, or 3, even 3 and up. Just having that third person in there really kind of adds to the mix of what you can do, because if you're playing 2 players and one person's all the way across the board than you, there's not a lot of chance of you getting near them and dueling them that turn. So it works better to have more options on the board of who you can rob, who you can duel, all that sort of stuff. So that's Western Legends. I mean, again, I cannot say enough good stuff about this. Colossal Games, you knocked it out of the park. Hervé Lemaitre. I probably butchered that pronunciation, but I just love it. I mean, this is a game where we're listening to Kenny Rogers, the gambler, and we're listening to Marty Robbins, as we're playing this game, because you want to live that wonderful, legendary, mythological West, the American West that we idolize in our brains, of all these wonderful heroes and legends and all that sort of stuff. So it's just fun. It's a fun game and just enjoyable. So I love the West. I love more, reading about it, studying. I love seeing it in person. We've seen some of our pins out here where we've done shows. I love seeing the American West, is beautiful, beautiful country, and just imagining it 150 years ago, 120 years ago, 100 years ago, and go back in time and think about what it looked like when it was a prairie, when it was saloon towns, when it was all these sort of things. And you get a little bit of a taste of the, again, the mythological side of that in this game. So go get Western Legends right now. It is 100% win for me. I'm going to give it a 9. For sure, without a doubt. Just know it's that good. I love this game. So again, I'm Brian Drake here on The Latest Retro for the Dice Tower. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at The Latest Retro and check out our videos that we do here on the Dice Tower. You can see more of those just down here. I'll put the link, and you can check out all the videos we do on the Dice Tower. I think there's about 140 of them now. So go check those out. Let me know what you like. Until next time.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching the Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is